The most expensive thing you'll ever waste isn't money. It's the years you spend holding on to something that stopped working, just because you already put so much in. Most people never quit the wrong job, the wrong relationship, the wrong project. Not because things are going well, but because walking away feels like admitting it was all for nothing. That feeling has a name. And once you understand what it's actually doing to your brain, you'll never make the same mistake again. Picture this. You're 2 years into a career that drains you. Maybe it was the degree you picked at 18. Maybe it's a business you emptied your savings into. Every morning that quiet dread sits in your chest, but you keep showing up. Not because you're energized, because you've already given so much. Or maybe it's a relationship that's been running on fumes. You know something's off. You've known for a while. But you keep trying, keep investing, keep believing, because you two have been through too much together. How do you just walk away from all that? Or it's a side project you've been building for a year. No traction, no momentum, numbers flat. But you can't stop, because you've put in too many late nights to quit now. Here's what's actually happening in all 3 of those situations. You're not making a decision based on where things are going. You're making a decision based on what things already cost you. And that is one of the most common and most quietly damaging thinking traps the human brain ever falls into. So what's actually going on inside your head? This thinking trap has a name: the sunk cost fallacy. A sunk cost is anything you've already spent that you can't get back. Time, money, energy, emotion. Once it's gone, it's gone. No refund, no rollback. And because it's already gone, it shouldn't have any power over what you decide to do next. But here's the problem. Our brains are not rational. Think of it like this. You've been digging a hole for weeks. Your hands are wrecked. You're exhausted. And then someone walks over and says, "Hey, there's nothing down there." The logical move is to stop digging. But your brain says, "I've already dug this far. I can't stop now." So you go deeper. Not because there's treasure ahead, but because there's so much effort behind. That's the sunk cost fallacy in one picture. You're not moving towards something. You're running from the feeling of having wasted something. The guilt of feeling like you'll have thrown everything away if you stop now. And that guilt is powerful, because humans are wired to hate loss more than they love gain. Psychologists call this loss aversion. We feel the pain of losing something roughly twice as intensely as we feel the pleasure of gaining something equally valuable. So when you think about walking away from that job, that relationship, that project, your brain isn't just calculating the future. It's calculating what it's going to feel like to admit that all that past effort didn't pay off. And that calculation is almost always wrong. Because the money you already spent? Gone. The years you put in? Gone. The only thing that actually exists, the only thing you can still do something with, is what happens from this moment forward. And making peace with that truth is what separates people who pivot wisely from people who just keep digging. So, where does this idea come from? The sunk cost fallacy has deep roots in behavioral economics, the field that studies how humans actually make decisions as opposed to how we think we do. In the 1980s, researchers began formally documenting just how irrational human decision-making becomes when loss is on the table. Psychologist Daniel Kahneman, who later received the Nobel Prize in Economic Sciences, and his research partner Amos Tversky developed prospect theory. Their work showed, with hard data, that losses feel disproportionately painful compared to equivalent gains. One sentence on Kahneman. His research fundamentally changed how economists and psychologists understand human choice. One study that makes this concrete. Researchers asked people whether they drive to a basketball game in a forecast blizzard. One group had paid full price for their ticket, the other had received it free. The people who paid were significantly more likely to say they'd still go, despite the weather risk. Their decision wasn't really about the game. It was about not feeling like the money was wasted. Another study found that people who paid more for a gym membership used it more, not out of greater health motivation, but because quitting felt more financially painful. This pattern shows up everywhere. In business strategy, in personal relationships, in governments that keep funding failing programs, in people who stay at jobs for years past the point of growth. The amount already invested quietly becomes the engine driving decisions, and the actual future outcome barely gets a vote. So how do you actually break free from this? 3 moves. Simple, specific, doable today. Step 1. Ask the clean slate question. When you're deciding whether to keep going with something, strip out the history completely. Ask yourself, if I were starting from zero today, no past investment, no emotional weight, no sunk hours, would I still choose this? If the honest answer is no, that's your signal. You're not honoring your past effort by continuing. You're just piling new costs onto something that was already a loss. Step 2. Separate what you lost from what you choose. The past costs don't change whether you stay or go. They're fixed. What isn't fixed is your next move. Say it plainly to yourself, the time I spent is gone either way. So what's the best use of my time from this moment forward? That one reframe shifts you out of the guilt loop and into forward motion. It sounds small. It isn't. Step 3. Redefine what quitting actually means. Every day you stay in the wrong job, the wrong relationship, the wrong direction, that's a new cost. A fresh one. Not the old sunk cost. A brand new tax you're choosing to pay. The sunk cost is sunk, but your next hour isn't. Your next year isn't. The version of yourself you still want to become, there's still ahead of you. Not buried behind you. Walking away from the wrong thing with clarity and self-respect is one of the most underrated acts of intelligence there is. Here's the one thing I want you to carry with you. The past can inform your decisions. It should never imprison them. You don't owe your future self more suffering just because your past self already paid. If this landed for you, subscribe to Mind Sketchbook. We simplify these ideas every week, one sketch at a time. This has been Mind Sketchbook, simplifying psychology, one sketch at a time.